All right, Matty, welcome back to the Ask Matty show. Matty, we had a crazy morning this morning on crypto Twitter, in the crypto community. Matty, how are you doing, and what happened this morning?
I'm doing all right. This morning was just one of those cases of just misinformation being spread at a rapid rate. And as we know, misinformation spreads a lot faster than true solid information on the internet. People like to spread things that are very exciting to them. And that news was that the SEC approved a spot Bitcoin ETF, which was not true at all. It came from Cointelegraph, a whole bunch of these, I would say bottom tier, especially at this point, like including Bitcoin Archive, reported this was true. We saw Bitcoin pump 10%, ripped right into resistance around $30,000, and then we gave all of that back basically once there was no other sources confirming this, and everyone kind of came to the conclusion of, hey, this isn't true. Shout out Dylan LeClaire for being one of the first out there to go, this isn't right, where's your source? And really this was probably one of the biggest pay-to-play tweets that we've ever seen out here, right? There had to be a reason why they tweeted it, left it up for a certain amount of time, and there was a small group of people who were able to take advantage of this. So this is market manipulation at its finest. So welcome to the game, guys.
Shout out to that Cointelegraph intern. I put out a tweet immediately. I was like, shout out to him. He just wanted to make Monday a little bit more interesting. But we are here recording on this Monday, this fine Monday, and we're going to be bringing you a lot of good questions that you guys have. A lot about API3. Are we still buying API3? Is API3 100x crypto? I know you guys want to see that in the title, but we also have some other questions regarding Casper and XRP. But before we get into that, become a Crypto Charge member. Click the link in the pinned comment below. Matty, we got a code going on right now. What's all of that about?
That's right. So we're actually redoing our entire backend. We're going to be presenting a brand new front page for cryptocharge.com in the coming months here. But until that is ready, we're going to be giving you guys that pricing that's going to be available for you guys, which is actually a reduced price. We want to give more people access to our program, make sure that you guys understand what we're trying to do, and allow you guys to have those actionable insights without that hurting your pocketbook too much. So it's going to be 50% off any membership. So it used to be $100 a month. Now you can get it for $50. If you want to save even more money, you can go with the annual plan. Again, code YouTube for $4.99 for the year. That comes out to about $41 a month. So you save even more money with going with the annual plan. But again, we have monthly plans, quarterly plans, and yearly plans, whatever fits you and your budget. But again, we also include that 30 days free no matter what plan you choose. And you get that discount code as long as you use YouTube at checkout.
Nice. And also in that pinned comment, shop.cryptocharge.com. But finally, team, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. You guys have been loving the Ask Matty show, and we're going to continuously bring it. But in today's show, your comments, your questions, your hot takes, we're about to get into it. Matty, are you ready?
Let's do this thing.
Bryce Williams, 1900s, says, you still into API3 or what? Stop shilling XRP. That shit never gonna moon.
Man, I just don't know if you guys hold no crypto or you hold a tiny amount of crypto and you just want to shit talk people that are fully educated in what they're invested in. First of all, XRP, we did really well in this most recent pop, right? We accumulated through the bear market. We accumulated through the SEC lawsuit. We got basically like over a 2x pop overnight from that ruling. I trimmed some of my XRP up there in that 90-cent region, reaccumulated that at a lower price. So not only did I make a profit, I now have increased my overall XRP holdings without adding additional capital to the market. So I know that you're not probably a strategy-based person or a technical analysis-based person, but I use these skills to make myself money and increase my overall position. Again, I'm not going to go deep into why I'm bullish on XRP. You guys know exactly what the deal is with XRP. But yes, I'm still very bullish on API3. So when we talk about API3, it's not a sexy subject. And, it's not like these, the Cardanos out there that offer, four proposition value points or, Bitcoin that everyone, puts on this pedestal of, this very easily attainable asset. And if you hold it, you'll be able to retire in the next 10 years, right? Which again, I think that everyone needs to think about market cap, right? And market cap growth takes time. And the more you add to the market, right, it takes longer to get there. With API3, it's an oracle, right? And it competes directly with Chainlink. And I think that's where it rubs people the wrong ways because again, they get married to these household names. If I tell you I'm not buying Coca-Cola because there's an up and coming, cola company that I think could compete with Coca-Cola. Yeah, of course, there's more risk involved with that. But what is there? A lot more reward involved with that as well, right? And I understand for a lot of you guys, that's too much risk. I'm never suggesting you step outside of your risk appetite and invest in things that don't line with your investing value. So for me though, I saw what Chainlink did. Chainlink had a fantastic run last cycle, and I don't have any doubt that Chainlink's not going to run and go do amazing things in this next cycle. In fact, I even have a Chainlink trade idea set up right now that we're going to potentially make some really great money on. Either which way, we have two different ways that we're going to be setting up this trade. You guys can check that out in the Discord community. But with API3, It's got a very small market cap right now compared to Chainlink. We're going to be taking a look later on, most likely today, at the API3 chart, and we're showing you guys some possibilities of kind of where my head's at, risk to reward wise. We also have, a lot smaller staking rewards, but you're still earning rewards that are longer term rewards with API3. And I think it's definitely worth, putting some money into if you want to have exposure to an Oracle or an API oriented play within crypto. And again, it's not my everything play. You guys know that I'm bigger on XRP, bigger on Casper, bigger on Zcash, but I don't want to ignore a vertical that I know is very important to smart contract integration. So if you guys don't know what an Oracle does, it essentially provides data feeds, right? So if I have a smart contract and it says, hey, I'm going to sell Gavin my house and I'm going to sell it to him for this many, this dollar amount, but it's going to be paid in Ethereum. So what do we need to determine at the point of sale when we finally get through the contract and we've released all the contingencies and everything? We get to it, we're about to sign, the contract and get everything ready to go. We need to know what the price is of Ethereum, and it has to be perfect, right? Because if we're off by 5%, 10%, or there's a corrupted data feed saying, let's say the price of Ethereum is 1 penny, right? Gavin's going to get a great deal. I'm going to get stuffed really badly here, and it's going to be automatically executed on the smart contract. Nothing we can really do to undo that, right? So with decentralized oracles and being able to spin up your own nodes and run those and be able to point to data feeds and pull them into your smart contracts, that's a very valuable thing. So that's why I'm bullish fundamentally on API3.
User, a lot of letters and numbers. Does it concern you that Casper could not make a very big gains next bull because lack of hype? Matty, I just want to clarify this because this person was talking about like not enough big influencers are talking about Casper, or to the effect that maybe you talk about Casper. What is your thoughts on this?
I'm going to guess this is probably also in reference to maybe some material that I published regarding Cardano's performance in the last bull run, kind of running on a false promise, and doing exponentially well. And we've looked at a lot of comparisons, right? What if Casper did what Cardano did? And that was really based on solely hype. You guys have to remember that the quote unquote hype that you guys are hearing, and again, I don't know what avenues you're plugged into. I don't know if you're in crypto Twitter every day. I don't know if you're only in a little bit of crypto Twitter. I don't know if like some of your stuff's come from Instagram, right? Your realm and perception of hype is completely subjective to you as a person, right? For me personally, I follow a lot of people that do great research on Casper, a lot of people who do great research on XRP, all these different things, right? So my perception of hype is different than yours. We're in a bear market right now. I don't even think people are hyped about Bitcoin for the most part, right? If you're a crypto guy, you're deep in the space. Of course, you're always gonna be excited about these things year after year, day after day. Nothing's gonna drive you away from this technology. But the hype you're talking about only comes when the bull market starts, right? So if Casper's at, let's say, 35 cents, 55 cents, 65 cents, that's in my opinion when the hype actually starts. People start talking about it. It's climbing up the coin market cap rankings. You have to understand the majority of retail traders are stupid. They're very, very stupid. And I'm not trying to shit on the general population, but when it comes to trading and investing, more people want to ride the train that's already moving. And of course, I'd love to as well, but I'm leaving so much money on the table. So you can go ahead and say, you know what, I'm just going to wait until Casper gets going. I'm going to buy into Casper once I start to see us break over some of these highs. Great. Now that 50x reward is now a 20x reward, or a 15 or a 10. And again, those are still great rewards, but you're leaving so much money on the table waiting for the rest of the internet to tell you we're all buying, right? And again, institutional demand and automated market makers are what drive price, not you and me as retail traders.
Yeah, user, get an actual username so I can, call you by name or something. But just to like call this out, because when I saw this, I'm like, you're wrong, because the biggest, I guess, TikTok commentator on of crypto is like Crypto Mason, and he brought up Casper. He hopped on the wave. I don't know if he saw like someone on our level, we're going to pass him up, but someone on our level talk about that, and he got exposed to that. And also too on YouTube, the biggest on there was and he brought up Casper. He did a full project breakdown about it. So Casper is talked about, and then you got like the Mattys of the world and the Kevin Cages of the world, that have a tight-knit community and are heavily talking about Casper. So I don't know where you're looking, bro. I really don't, especially like if you want to learn about Casper, look up Casper on TikTok. You will see a lot of Matty's face, a lot of it. So at least 500 videos of Matty. So anyways, we're going to move along. Ahmed says, I know nothing about fundamentals, but API3 chart indicates at least a $30 price.
Yeah, I actually don't think you're off base there. You probably have a more level head than the majority of individuals out there when we're talking about API3. One of the things that we can look at here before we actually take a look at the charts is a website that I've showed you guys before. The name of the website is called marketcapof.com. And what you can essentially do is compare the market cap of two assets. You can actually compare more than two assets at a time, but I like to just compare one at a time just to kind of get my head around it. And you can also compare it at current market price versus its previous all-time high. So it takes, what you want to do ideally though, is compare two like-kind assets, right? Like I don't want to take Casper and say, if Casper had the market cap of Bitcoin, they're not comparable assets, right? But if we were to say, for example, let's take API3, and what if that had the market cap of Chainlink, right? Because those are one for one. Those are both oracles. They're both decentralized data feeds, right? So if we were to say the market cap of Chainlink right now, API3 as the market cap of Chainlink right now, that'd be roughly a $43 API3 or a 40x from current market price. If we were to go to its previous all-time high, that actually suggests a 213x return with a $229 price. Now, we probably need to find the middle ground between this, right? Which is kind of why we have some of our sell targets in that $40 to $60 region. And we're also looking at selling some potentially long-term at a three-figure target if price keeps going. But the whole point here is to ladder out in tranches, just like anything. We're not married to these assets, especially something like Chainlink or API3 that's just an oracle. There will be more oracles that come along here, but I think API3 is the one that stands out to the most to me out of all of the other oracles that competing in this space that doesn't have an enormous market cap already.
When I feel like it says, what's your explanation of ODL and what does it have to do with the price of XRP?
Yeah, so I actually use the phrase ODL a lot, and it stands for on-demand liquidity. And I think some people think it's just like a cheesy talking point, a piece, but it's not. When you look at the way that the XRP ledger works, right, it actually does kind of like throughput-wise around the same as Visa and MasterCard right now, meaning that it keeps up or it competes with the existing payment methods that we have now. There are lots of parts to the XRP ledger that don't necessarily revolve around the price of XRP itself specifically, and I want you guys to understand that. The XRP ledger and XRP in itself are not one and the same. XRP is a digital asset that runs over the XRP ledger. The reason this is an important concept to comprehend is because you could potentially wrap and run other assets over the XRP ledger. Okay, so I want you guys to think about the XRP ledger as its set of train tracks, right? And you can throw other assets over it, but the primary gas fees that we pay to run on this network is XRP, right? So what does that mean? Just like any network, the more demand, the more applications that are created on this network, the more people are going to have demand for these tokens, right? If people are hoarding tokens, people are not putting them back onto the markets, the demand goes up for those, the price goes up for XRP, right? So over long periods of time, what is the goal here? It's for institutions and large players to leverage the XRP ledger to send payments from institution to institution, settle internal treasuries, send remittance payments around the world, partner with other remittance partners, partner with charter banks. When you take a step back and you think about how the existing monetary system works now when it comes to remittance payments, right? If I'm going to send a wire from here to, let's say, a more difficult country like Paraguay, I'm just going to send it from my bank. My bank is going to send that out to another charter bank so they can, basically bridge the transaction because there's not always like a bank-to-bank transfer. That charter bank then has to take the foreign exchange rate and leverage that, and there's a fee to be had there when they have to actually swap from, let's say, dollars to another currency. Then those dollars could potentially go to another charter bank, and then they finally arrive in my bank. So you're unaware of these steps happening, but sometimes there's like 5 to 10 steps happening in between you sending a wire to somebody else receiving it, not even talking about all the fees that are included with that. When we talk about ODL or on-demand liquidity, that means that you're creating these corridors, right? So essentially anyone who wants to sign up and join Ripple's program, right, where they say, hey, we have the tech, we have the program, it's already customer facing, we already can build your custom solutions, we can build you whatever you want, right? And we can connect banks directly. So instead of us having to, spend time jumping between charter banks, leveraging, volatile FX pricing while the money is in transit, right? We're able to instantaneously settle and reach into that deep liquidity pool that's inside of the XRP ledger. There is a decentralized exchange with automated market makers that is providing these enormously deep liquidity pools. So you could basically settle any amount of money on the XRP ledger in under 3 seconds for very, very little money. I mean, pennies. We're talking about pennies or a fraction of a penny. So when I talk about ODL, it is the most important use case, in my opinion, when we talk about the XRP ledger. Like I said, you could send other things over it. We're eventually going to have stable coins that are more easily sent over the XRP ledger. There's a lot of other use cases that are going to drive price higher over time as that demand picks up. But ODL is the most important.
Matty, I like what you just broke down right now because if anyone was listening to what you just said right now, you just basically broke down the legacy banking system. And I bet you, audience member that you're listening right now, break down the legacy banking system that Matty just broke down because I bet you couldn't.
Right.
So if you can't do that, don't get so hung up on trying to break down ODL corridors or like how crypto is supposed to work as a payment solution. Like, don't get so caught up in that. It's great to know because if someone asks you, you want to be able to explain that. But don't die on that hill just because you don't want to talk about
Right.
crypto because you can't explain how that's going to work. Most people can't even explain how the legacy banking system works. So don't trip out over that. But we got the last question here. Brady Munch 302 says, "Is API 3 a 100x crypto?" Matty?
So, anything's possible, right? And again, just like with Casper, right? We have to look at like the overall reward being 100x, meaning you're not going to sell anything until that 100x reward. If you tranche out in layers, your overall reward, your averaged cumulative reward is going to be less than 100x. But that doesn't mean from maybe your initial entry to that final price that some of that wasn't a 100x, right? With API 3, again, I want to make sure that I'm taking advantage of those profits when they're on the table. It's so easy to get sucked into another 10x, another 15x, another 20x. I would rather be wrong and sell a little bit too early than not sell and miss the top and watch price just run away from me and watch all of those gains get undone, right? And this is really where that long-term bag comes into play. And Kevin Cage is a huge proponent of this. I'm really grateful to him, even though I've been doing this 8 years. I've been watching his content for many years now. He's one of the people that's really turned me on to a lot of this mindset and methodology when it comes to your long-term holds, because I have made the mistake of selling my entire bag too early and not keeping a portion of it. So we want to hedge against ourselves, right? We want to at least pay ourselves back at the minimum of what we put into this project. So once you guys see a nice, 3-4x return, at the very minimum, peel it back, pay yourself back. So that way, everything else that you decide to leave in there is now risk-free. You've at least paid yourself back, right? So when we look at API 3, so we're actually just going to go ahead and take a look at that chart really quickly here. And my watch list just got reorganized. Boom. Here's API 3. It's on the KuCoin chart. And again, when you have these markets that are young like this, right? We have API 3 here that was born in 2021, right? So it kind of got a little bit of bull market action, came in for the retrace here, and then just unfortunately has been a victim of the bear market. Same exact situation with Casper. So again, you guys can continue to ignore opportunities where projects were essentially born at the end of a bull market, beginning of a bear market, or you can understand that there's an enormous fundamental case for it and that the overall reward can be exponential. So right now, I'm actually targeting API 3 to go a lot lower. And that's not because I think API 3 specifically is in a bad spot. We have a rise in Bitcoin dominance. We have a shaky equity market right now. You have the Federal Reserve that wants to keep rates higher for longer. You have the banking system cracking right now. You have just a lot of signs right now that we have economic disturbances afoot. So I don't want to ignore the fact that there's going to be better prices presented. So API 3 DCA is on, but what I've done with most of my DCA based on these facts is I've peeled back some of my DCA anywhere from 25 to 50%. So I'm only DCAing about 75 to 50% of what I would usually DCA right now because I am anticipating a drop. Why am I doing that? I still want to hedge against myself in case I'm wrong, right? I just don't want to take my foot off the gas completely because these are still good prices. So right now we're trading right around $1.07, right? If we were to dump another 55, 60% from here, that would put around a 50-cent API 3. I think that's kind of maybe where we would see that bottoming structure for API 3. If we were to look at that 4.236, what does that support? Roughly a $42 price, right? We also saw that was possible if we were to take Chainlink's market cap right now, that would be right about what we'd be looking at, right? So if we look even beyond that, though, what does it also suggest? That 21 extension puts it around a $211 price. That's also what Chainlink would have done if we had put that at its previous all-time high market cap-wise, right? So these numbers are supported both Fibonacci-wise and market cap-wise of an existing competitor that does a near identical thing, just in a smaller market capitalization. The opportunities in crypto that you guys hear about when you hear people making a 20, 50, or 100x, it is when they find an asset that they like, that has strong fundamentals, that was in a smaller capitalization at the time. They didn't make their money when it was a large cap, right? It's not when it was already in the top 20 or the top 50 on coinmarketcap.com. That is before the fact, right? So you need to position yourself now. So if you're able to accumulate API 3 between 50 cents and $1, that's really where it's going to become really valuable for you, right? But if you were to potentially, let's say, accumulate a big bag down here towards 50 cents, up to that 4.236, that would put you about a 75x, right? To that 8 extension would put you over a 100x, around 146x, right? That'd be around an $80 API 3. Let's say that you accumulate now around $1, right? And you get up to that 4.236. That puts you still at about a 40x reward. So the 8 gets you at an 81 1x, and then the 13 will put you over a 100x reward. So again, are we betting that we should be exceeding all of the standard extensions? No, of course not. I'm going to be laddering out and selling some API3, $25, $35, right? I want to tranche out here. I want to pay myself back. I want to realize those rewards. I have some staking rewards that have been in the vault for over a year now, right? So I have rewards I haven't even paid for that I want to realize profits on, right? I didn't pay anything for that. So again, I'm going to be holding a portion of this bag, probably about 20% long term. And if we get this blow off top, 130, $200, the whole thing goes at that point, right? If we don't get that blow off top, great, I'll hold it and we'll see if we get a nicer pop in the future. But that's kind of my plan here. Is it a 100x? It could be. Are we looking at more likely like a 50 to a 60x on the table? Yes. And again, rotational opportunities, team. This is where the real value comes in. If we're able to even, let's say, capitalize on a 20x pump, let's say API3 goes absolutely ballistic, and it is very, very volatile compared to a lot of other assets. We've seen in a single day a 100% pump without any fundamental news in a bear market here on API3. If we were to, for example, get a 15 or a 20x, and that happened, let's say, a short period, like a 2-week period, I would sell like 70 or 80% of my API3, and I would dump that back into anything that hasn't popped yet, whether that be Casper, XRP, Zcash, it doesn't matter. The goal here is to keep the money moving when the iron is hot. So yes, we have these end goal targets, but that plan can change if we get, for example, a first mover advantage in the altcoin market against other alts. So I just want you guys to keep those opportunities in mind.
Great commentary, Matty. I think this was a great show. A lot of good things said. Anything, we're running out of time here. Anything to leave the team with here, Matty?
Yeah, so again, like I said at the top of the show, make sure you guys using code YouTube at checkout for that 50% off pricing. We're doing some more trade ideas more frequently now. This morning, we're actually currently in a successful Bitcoin trade. You know, even though that volatility created, a situation where most of us were able to capitalize on that, after the dust settled, I got down on a 15-minute chart and I was like, hold on, we might retrace a little bit here, pull up a little risk-reward ratio, and I found a trade that was actually worth my time. And I'm in profit right now. Stop losses at break even, so now it's a risk-free trade. So if you guys want to jump in, make a little bit of money while we're waiting, you want to have more guidance, you want to get more reassurance on your trades, you want a little bit of feedback on your portfolio, we offer all of that in the Discord community, so don't sleep on these discount codes.
That's all we have for today, team. Thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next week. Adios.